Welcome to the Awaken on Purpose podcast, where each week you'll hear inspirational stories of heart-centered leaders who have awakened to their higher purpose and taken that leap of faith to follow their heart and make an impact in the world. Get ready to be enlightened, empowered, and transformed with your host, Jennifer Spohr.
I am excited and really grateful to welcome Montse Azaguirre as a guest to our show today. Montse is the founder of Mindful Living. After a period of suffering postnatal anxiety, she turned to meditation and mindfulness. This was like a light bulb had turned on, and she could lean into the light and regain her purpose, inner sense of calm, and joy for life. Through her work, she teaches others the power of being present, manifesting your soul's purpose, and opening your mind to just this present moment in order to let the universe guide you. Wow, that is powerful. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. So great to be here with you.
I am, like I said, I'm so just excited and grateful to have you here with us today.
And likewise, I'm so grateful to have you. You have asked me to be a guest because it's such a wonderful program that you've got there, and it's definitely something that I think the universe, the world, the planet needs more people showing the light.
I agree. Absolutely. I don't think there can be too much light, actually.
Absolutely not. Not in this time.
So, Montse, what inspired you to do the work you're doing today? How did you get to where you are now from where you were before you discovered that calling?
Yes. So for just a quick history, for 20 years, I worked in television here in Australia. So working on, big shows like The Voice and Biggest Loser, that kind of thing. So and they're worldwide, obviously, you'd know those. And so I worked really hard and I knew my stuff, and I thought I had that kind of down pat. And then I had my two little boys. I got married and had my two little boys, and I thought I was going to be prepared for motherhood because I'm pretty much the Mother Hubbard of, my crew. But there is nothing more rewarding, but there is nothing harder than being a mum. And when I had my second child, a few months later, I actually started having panic attacks. And then I realized I was having postnatal anxiety. I went to my doctor and I got that diagnosed. So it was a big shock for me because I thought I had everything under control. And obviously you don't ever, but you can pretend. And so I realized that I needed something other than medicine, because I did take some medicine because sometimes you need that. And there's nothing wrong with taking what you have to take to get you through a really rough patch. And I went through a very rough patch where I wasn't able to be in the house alone, not because I was going to hurt the boys. And postnatal anxiety is actually the opposite. You think something's going to happen to them and you're worried that you're going to collapse on the floor and they'll be left alone, or someone will steal them or take them or hurt them, that kind of thing. So it's quite debilitating because you don't know how to go left, forward, right. So you just stay stuck. And I had an incredible family support system, thankfully. But I found mindfulness, the principles of mindfulness and meditation, absolutely, that helped me along the way, because you need something to ground you in those moments where you're all up in your head. You need to ground yourself, and that was the thing for me.
What you said there is really profound about the need for us to have that groundedness.
Yeah.
Because so many people, and I've been in the same place as well, actually spend more of their time thinking about the past or worried about the future. And our power to create the reality that we want, to instill change for our lives, is actually in the present moment right now.
Absolutely. That's all that's all you have. Even physicists and neurosurgeons say that basically the only moment you have is this present moment, and that's your past and that is your future. So how you decide upon spending that time creates the rest of it.
Absolutely. Every experience in our lives shapes who we are. So every experience we have serves a purpose.
Yes.
What is an experience in your own life that you feel has been significant in shaping who you've become today?
For me, the postnatal anxiety, because, up until that point, I thought I had everything under control. I thought I knew where I was going. I was making my own short films. I was being able to, juggle a full-time work, which I loved, and hobbies and having fun with my friends. And then because I got married later, and so when I found my husband and we had our boys really quickly, everything changed. I believe I was talking to another mother actually the other day, and I think you lose your identity. And it's a big thing for us mums and even a woman, because when you marry someone or you become a partner, you can very easily lose yourself within them. And the same thing with a child. You suddenly become the parent or the wife and you lose who you are. And when that happened to me, I basically stopped working. Obviously, I was, at home with both of the boys, and I was not working and I wasn't bringing in income. So I've lost all the things that I knew I could do. I knew I could take care of myself financially. I knew I could take care of myself emotionally. And suddenly I needed people. And that was a big turning point for me to say, oh, okay, hang on, this isn't just about me now. And when I saw my boys and when I see them every day, I realized that they actually need me to be stronger and more enlightened for them, because the world that we're bringing them into is not exactly the easiest. And there's more points of darkness for them to meander around. And so I'm here as a guide, and I know that they're not my children per se. They're my beautiful souls that I'm here to guide.
It is so true. I believe, that our children are our future. I don't know if this has been the case for you, but it was most definitely the case for me. For me, I came from a bit of a tough upbringing. And a lot of the clients that I work with as well, a lot of the fears and doubts and limiting beliefs that we carry into adulthood actually stem from our childhood, specifically when we're younger.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, and absolutely. And look, and if you are, if you're an enlightened person, but not enlightened, if you're someone who is an empath, if you're someone who is, as people like to call it, emotional, that's not a negative thing, by the way. Being emotional is not negative. It means that you're in touch with your emotions, and that's better than to numb them. So when you're an empath and you have a lot of emotions, people like to call that all kinds of things, And as a child, if you get all those emotions pushed down because they don't want you to cry or they don't want you to be upset, they want you to be tougher, and it happens to boys and girls, then that can actually be very detrimental to a soul, because ultimately we're a soul in this human body.
Well, what happens is when we have unprocessed emotions, they manifest themselves in other ways, most often through some type of behavioral disorder or addiction, because it doesn't just get pushed down. It has to go somewhere.
Yes. Or you allow people to treat you badly because you assume that that's how it's going to be, because it's been since you were little. So you assume that that's your path in life. And so that's a very difficult thing to obviously cut the cord from, but you have to do that, because in order to be your true self, in order to fulfill your true journey on this planet, then you have to cut those cords.
Absolutely. You have to make a decision. Absolutely. That's an excellent point as well, because so many people are conditioned to go throughout life really being a victim of circumstance, whether they realize it or not, rather than being more intentional and making life happen for them, because we are empowered to change our circumstances, no matter how challenging they may be.
Absolutely. And of course, you're only as empowered as you think you are, right? So if you've grown up with someone that doesn't let you have some power, then you think you're less empowered. But once something happens, and for me, the postnatal anxiety created a major metamorphosis for me, a major metamorphosis in all areas of my life. And I realized that I didn't need to just follow this tiny, narrow path that I had been told I could follow, that I actually could do anything I wanted to do. I could actually follow my heart. I could follow my soul's journey and my messages that I needed to tell. And that was really empowering. But if someone hasn't allowed you to be empowered, if someone hasn't said you get to have a voice, that's very difficult for someone. And so I guess it's really important to let anyone, and I talked about this actually in an Instagram post yesterday, the fact that we have original wounds, and those original wounds can impact us for life. And it will take something quite big to make you basically almost recut that wound. It will kind of open up again. And it's then your choice whether you actually acknowledge that wound and say, okay, I get it, now it's my turn, or whether you just put a Band-Aid on it again.
Yeah, that makes sense. Perfect sense.
It's very difficult, and I know it's really hard, and I've gone through this, and it's easier sometimes just keep putting the Band-Aid on, right? But ultimately, you're not being true to yourself, and you're not being true to the person that you have been in previous lifetimes, who've then decided, as they say, there's that contract you have to come back again. There's something you had to learn again here. And whatever it is, if you don't get it this time, it'll happen again. And you just keep hitting that same rock, And so you're better off just acknowledging it, facing it, and giving yourself that power to say, today I change the way I think. Today I change the way I live. And for me, the way that that's happened is through meditation, obviously, as we mentioned, because that allowed me to just stay in that moment and just, stay with my breath, calm myself down, my whole body, and then use my mind to take me to a beautiful, calm space. And that will change everything that you think of. It will change the way that you walk, that you talk. If you can always have something to anchor you, that will be so empowering.
Meditation is something I highly recommend as well. For me, it was also life-changing. In my prior career, I had a lot of stress and anxiety, so much so that I had to have medication for it. When I started doing meditation, after a few months, I was able to walk away from it completely.
Great.
And that may not be the case for everyone. That was the case, personally for me. But just to illustrate how powerful the practice of meditation can be, beyond bringing us more into center and focused and increased relaxation and overall health, it also serves as a gateway to our intuition, to our own intuitive abilities, because everybody has them, but when we don't take the time out ever to just be, we can't hear ourselves.
I agree.
Meditation really allows us to be able to do that. I just can't talk enough about how powerful I think it is.
Oh, it is, truly, honestly. And I do know some people that have said to me just recently, I can't meditate, and I said, okay, well then you can bring in some of the mindful, things. And mindfulness, by the way, isn't just one little stream. In order to be really open and awakening yourself, you have to kind of do a few things like the meditation and the mindfulness. The mindfulness is basically just a core set of principles that allow you to find that space of calm, to find that space of peace. So, because a lot of people, the biggest things we do are obviously judging ourselves and other people. That's not particularly pleasing or calming to yourself. We try and strive for things and we make it harder for ourselves, and we think we have to make it harder. That's not particularly helpful. We don't accept stuff. We don't accept that things will happen, and sometimes they're in our control and sometimes they're out of our control. Now, even if something happens, it was more than likely meant to happen, to show you something, to ignite something within you, or to calm something within you down. Letting go. You have to let go of things. I've got family members who are not easy. They don't find it very easy to let go of other people's thoughts about them, how they want to control things about you. And that, I see it detrimentally in themselves, how they're paying the price for it, really. So you can bring in the meditation and then these little mindfulness principles, which will transcend everything. It will just change your life completely.
I agree wholeheartedly. Can't really talk about that enough.
Yeah.
And it's really not difficult to get started. And the thing for everyone to understand, especially because, there are people out there who say that they can't do it, is to understand that it's a practice, and it's, transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's the same as with losing weight or anything else. You're
Correct.
creating a new habit. So it's so important to be patient with yourself and to not give up, and make it easy. Just start with even like 10 minutes a day.
Yeah. And also I found that meditation can be in many forms. So you can just do a mindful walk. You can just go for a walk down the street to get your milk or whatever it is. And you can just be focused on that walk, because really meditation is focusing your mind and mindfulness is focusing your mind. So you just walk down the street, don't talk to anyone, just look at the grass, stop and actually smell a flower and feel the petals and see how the smooth, that smoothness touches your skin. Take a walk and look at the clouds and look at the sun and feel the warmth on your skin. That is just focus. If you can focus your mind, just even for a 10-minute walk on just what you're doing, not your iPhone or your Android, not talking to your friend, not doing anything. Just having that focused time is really important. And if you can't do that, there's a really funny little trick that you can put a dot or place something on your wall, and for just 20 seconds, focus on that dot. Now, it doesn't matter if you stray, just come back to it. Forgive yourself for the stray, that's okay, and then come back and just focus on that spot on the wall and see how long you can focus yourself, because the most amount of time you can focus, the calmer you'll become.
Absolutely. Commitment and consistency is key.
Yes.
Just keep doing it over and over.
And I think the thing is too, I think there's two things happening in the world. Everything's really, really fast. Rush. Too many pressures, deadlines to go. We got to get this done. Come on, hurry up. So you're feeling like that's how you should be running your life. But the point is, you only have one life. And I think everyone needs to understand this. You only have one life that you recall. Now, if you believe in reincarnations, you would have had many, many lives, right? And I do. But you only have this one life. And there's a reason why you came back. There's a reason why this soul made a contract with his body and said, I'm in it for another long haul. And so therefore, give yourself that time. Cherish this moment that you have in this world and say, okay, what am I bringing? What can I bring? Even to my neighbor, can I do something kind for them? You know, I think if you pay it forward and have some compassion for yourself, give yourself some time to rest. Give yourself some time to opt out from all the social media and just say, for 10 minutes, I'm going to sit down with a cup of tea and I am just going to be quiet. Imagine that. So if you don't honor yourself, no one will. And that's a big lesson that I had to learn.
Yes, that is the truth for sure. And actually, when we honor ourselves first, it gives us an expanded capacity with which
Absolutely.
to give back to others, because we're not doing it from a place of resentment or depletion.
Exactly. And the thing is too, if the mindfulness, the principles are really basic, man. If you just accept who someone is, your life is much easier. If you're constantly judging someone, your life is much harder. If you're constantly trying to push something, you need to have some patience, because it's just not going to happen. The universe happens in its divine timing. And if you keep pushing it harder and harder, you're making your life harder, not the rest of the people. So I think if you just say, okay, I'm just going to settle my mind and say, what comes, what I can change, I will change, but I can change myself from this point onwards and make my life a little easier by honoring myself, being kinder to myself. So I'm writing a book about, how the spirituality and meditation and mindfulness actually got me through postnatal anxiety. And for me, it was actually being kind to myself. Someone told me to be kinder to myself. And someone said, hold yourself lightly. And that's the name of the book, because I imagine myself, I'm holding a feather in my hand, because you don't push a feather, you don't strangle a feather, because it's so incredibly wonderful. And it makes birds fly and soar through incredible amounts of kilometers and weather and sun and heat and rain and everything else. But you don't squish it, you don't squash it so that you can't imagine it anymore. So you shouldn't do that to yourself either, because we're incredible beings. And each one of us has come here for whatever purpose it is.
Montse, what advice would you have for others who are feeling called to do more? They're at a crossroads, in that place where they want to make a bigger impact, but they haven't yet taken the leap of faith.
I think start doing little things. Pay it forward. I really actually mean that. So if you go to a shop and someone is struggling with the last $5, pay that. Give them a smile for the day. Like, I always smile at every person I try and walk past. And if they don't smile at me and I know those people, I'm going to crack them eventually. But I'll always try and make someone feel special, because that's how I would like someone to feel, right? To make me feel. And so I always try and make other people feel a little special every day. Even if it's, my boys' friends at school, I always give them a little hug and say, hey, going boys or girls. I also think that giving yourself that time. So time to have a little to yourself. And that's not being selfish. It's actually being selfless. Because if you give yourself a 10-minute break in the day, 10 minutes, that's all you need to do, and sit down. And if it's watch your favorite television, 10 minutes of your favorite show that makes you laugh, do it. Because the quicker that we can be kinder to ourselves, we will be kinder to others. Because when we're so mean to ourselves, when we're so, antagonistic to ourselves, with the way that we speak to ourselves, I've found, Jennifer, is sometimes really, really harsh. And I've caught myself on days where all I've done is speak meanly to myself internally. No one can hear it, but I'm saying these negative things. So if you can start actually turning yourself around, you will turn everything else around.
That is fantastic advice. How can someone find you if they want to learn more about you and what you're up to?
Yes, of course. So I'm on Instagram, which is Montse Mindful Media, and also at the website. So it's www.mindfulliving.com. So it's triple L because there's lots of love.
Oh, I love that.
So it's mindfulliving.com. And there you'll see different things that we work at. There's actually some videos there as well. I do little meditations. And I'm actually working at the moment on doing some meditations for people who are going through chemotherapy, and also who we're working together at the moment with some people about using meditations for people during MRIs, so going through an MRI, because it's not, I had one a few weeks ago and it wasn't particularly pleasant, but my meditation got me through it. So I think it's really important to, on a daily basis, stop beating yourself up. Because the sooner you find the kindness within yourself to yourself, you will find the kindness for other people. And that will shift the way that everything works in your life. When you start saying, I am not an enemy and they are not my enemy, everything shifts. And you get the law of attraction happening, and you get your whole life changing because you see things different. Your perspective changes. So being kinder to yourself is super, super important. And taking time out and meditating or going for a mindful walk will change the way you see life.
I agree 1,000%.
I knew you would.
Montse, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. It is always such a joy talking to you.
Oh, ditto. I love talking to you too, Jan. I wish you were closer. We could have a cup of tea.
I know. Aren't we pretty much on the other opposite side of the world?
Exactly, I know.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Awake and On Purpose podcast. Please visit us and subscribe to the podcast at awakeandonpurpose.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about how you can connect with your higher purpose and take that leap of faith to make your impact in the world, visit us at jenniferspor.com. And while you're there, be sure to join our email list for exclusive offers and a weekly dose of inspiration.